Just try to fix one thing here. Anyway, noodling around here, trying to mess around with the tune Come Rain or Come Shine. So welcome everybody. Thanks for being here. I wanted to show you guys some of the stuff I do to create the backing tracks, or some of the video lessons that I do. And now that I think I have this all figured out, well, at least I like to think about. Oh, I probably had the volume off the whole time. So I do not have everything figured out. Anyway, you guys, thanks for being here. So like I said, I'm going to talk about how I create some of the backing tracks. So right now, I'm in the middle of doing a new lesson on Naima, John Coltrane's Naima. I played that the other night when I was doing a live thing. And I had a lot of requests to do this as a video lesson. So I created most of the backing track stuff already. I'm gonna add some more things to it, but I thought I would give you some insight as to how I go about doing that. Anyway, I'll still wait a couple minutes to get some more people in here. All right, just noodling, like I said, just waiting for some people to get here. So hello, Efren and Doug, Rod and Pat, Troy, Ted, how are you, man? Enrico and Frank and Chuck. Thank you, guys. So, I guess I might as well get started. Okay, so anyway, as far as like the backing track stuff, it had been something that had been requested for so long that I finally decided to include it in the video lessons. In the beginning, I used to just kind of throw together something kind of quick, just in order for me to accompany myself on the examples. I didn't really put much effort into it, so I was really hesitant to, push those out and let people have them, because it's not that we're filled with mistakes. It's just that, like I said, it was just enough to provide accompaniment for the linear examples in particular that I was giving. But as I started getting a lot more requests, I thought, okay, this is something that I definitely need to do, and started taking it much more seriously. So the tune that I'm working on right now is, like I said, John Coltrane's Naima, and have got most of it done. Like, I've got the core stuff done, in other words, drums, bass, piano, guitar, and I'll add some what I call like sweetener stuff, maybe some orchestral things, who knows, because I did it kind of as a bossa, really actually modeled after Herbie's Maiden Voyage. So, Naima, of course, or with the pedal. So the vibe I was going for on the recording is this. So I'll jump over to my Ableton live screen for you guys so you can see the session that I've got going, and kind of talk you through it a little bit, I guess. So there's a session, and so what's going on here is I have, let me just move some things out of the way. So I have a drum part here, some percussion elements that I use during the bridge sections, which I'll show you guys all in a minute. Bass, this is the solo that I recorded today. I have it muted right now because I'll just play something brand new for this live thing. This is what will end up being on the video lesson, this particular recording. And then I have comping, which consists of piano and the Godin nylon string guitar, which really, really sounds good. So I'll play a little bit of it for you right now so you can hear it. And this will be with no melody, no guitar at all, just so you can hear the backing track itself. So it'll get going like right in a second. It's like a little introduction spot here. This is where the A section would be. I'll just play the melody for a second. So you get a vibe right there. But like just the comping part alone, the piano and guitar sounds like this. I think is really nice, the nylon string and the piano, and they're panned left and right. Those little percussion parts are just some loops. Again, those are set pretty far back and panned hard left and right. Day of the melody. This will be the solo right here. there would have been the second chorus of the solo right here. And I have it set to loop right now, just so for me to practice. Excuse me, so I'll just let this loop over and over and over again before it goes to the head out section, which is right here. You know, when I did the video, of course I had it play straight through, but prior to that, during practice time, like I said, I would just let it loop and loop and loop and loop and play for, you know, a half an hour straight, trying to discover and find new stuff. So that is the outline of it. So before I go any further, I just want to see if there's any questions about what I've shown you so far. So just really quick. So somebody's mentioned the piano sound. I can show you, if I isolate that particular part, if I can only see. So the piano is here. So right now I'm just gonna pull out my keyboard. Of course I'm not hearing anything. Oh yeah, let's see if that does it. So for the yeah, so the piano I'm using is something called piano, what is it called? It's by a company called Modart. Unfortunately, and this stinks, and believe me, as you guys know, I work hard trying to figure all this technology out. I haven't been able to figure out, and it won't work, I just can't get Ableton Live to display third-party plugins, but I'll just tell you what it is. Instruments, it's called Piano Tech, and it's great because it's not a sample piano library where you'd have like a library of like gigs and gigs of data. It's an emulation, some sort of without samples is what I'm trying to say to you guys. That sounds amazing. Not only do they have pianos, like I know you won't be able to see this, but I'll open up the interface so you can see what I'm talking about. Again, I have to move some windows out of the way. But so there's the piano sound is of course what you heard, which is just beautiful, man. Just love it, man. It's one of my most favorite purchases of all. Because like I said, it's just super lightweight. It doesn't even contain any samples. But if I go, I also have some great, you know, Rhodes sounds too. To me, it sounds really Steely Dan-ish. So what was their thing? You know, it's just great. So now I need to go back to my Steinway D Jazz. So that's the piano sound, which is great. Love it. Let me see if there's any more questions before I go on. Yeah, well, Paulo Cortez, I guess I answered your question already. No, I play everything in live. My piano chops are adequate. You know, that's what I mean. Like, I always felt like, geez, I really wish I could just hire a piano player to come in and play these. But to the point now where it's good enough where I think I could comp, you know, pretty well like on a gig. I can't solo, but I could definitely comp through pretty much, you know, any standard tune kind of thing. So I play everything in real time. If the things are really challenging, I'll slow the tempo down because it is MIDI and you can record at any tempo. And I will make plenty of mistakes and I'll just go back in there and edit them. The piano part takes me, you know, a long time because I do make plenty of mistakes because I'm not a pianist. Whereas the guitar part, you know, I can just do, you know, with one pass. Same thing with the bass. Like the bass is just an acoustic bass. It's not even a great one, but it's the one that's built into the free version of Contact. If any of you are at all into programming stuff, via MIDI, this comes included with their factory sound bank. The bass sounds like this. Again, that I play that in as well. But I think the Logic default bass sound is better than this, but I prefer working in Ableton Live. So yeah, I mean it works. It's good enough. It just doesn't have. So basically that's what I'm doing during the course of the day. There's this programming in MIDI parts. I do have this huge secret that I'm about to divulge to you guys, a real great trick. That I'll tell you, but before I do that, I just want to make sure there aren't any other questions. So I answered the bass question that Miguel has asked. And no, Paolo, like I said, I play piano good, as you can hear, just good enough. And really came from, when I was studying jazz arranging, this is a long time ago, the University of South Florida. And, I remember doing my first few big band charts, sitting at my guitar, figuring voicings out and recognizing that, no, this is not the way that arrangers arrange for big band, and had to really take a good look at the piano. And, even though we're guitarists, I assume most of you guys out there are guitarists, even though we are, it's a different visualization of the whole thing, of just music in general. It's just different, and to be able to see everything in this consistent manner, we're obviously on the guitar, things change based on where you are on the instrument, and the B string obviously offsets things because it's all of a sudden we have a major third when everything else was fourths, where this is just completely purely very, very visual. And it's a great way to kind of distance yourself from the guitar, especially when it comes to songwriting. Like, I never write tunes on the guitar. The only time I will, if it's going to be like a solo guitar piece, like the thing I did on that record that I just did. But any of the contemporary jazz stuff that I write, or even the straight ahead stuff, I usually go to the piano first. So again, let me just take a quick look, see if anybody else has commented. And then I'll tell you this big secret. So the thing is, like, programming straight eight stuff like this is pretty easy. Let me unsolo. By easy is that it's a straight eighth groove. So what I typically do is quantize. For those of you who don't know what quantizing is, it just means that notes are moved to a grid. If you decide that your grid is going to be eighth notes, when you use the quantize command, all the notes get moved to the closest eighth note. So it just locks up time. And obviously there's a lot of not a matter of variation, but there's a lot of different ways you can do this to keep things musical and not so grid-like. But the bottom line is it's that you're forcing your time to lock into a grid. So on straight eighth tunes like a Latin tune, or the way I'm doing this arrangement, it's pretty easy because, like, again, it's a straight feel. On the piano parts, I do quantize those as well, but I usually set the strength of it to 50%. And that means that if, this is the grid line and here's the note, rather than it just drilling it right to the bar line, it'll just do 50%. So it retains the musicality, but tightens up the timing a little bit. So I kind of leave the piano parts a little bit looser, but bass and drums, I generally quantize. I'll talk more about the drums in a minute, But that's the overall thing. But what I'm getting at is like when I'm doing something that's in a swing feel, that's really, really hard. Because even though I have got some, and I'll show you in a second, I've got some great drum libraries with really, really great jazz grooves. I'm not even talking about Drum Genius. I'm talking about some other software that I'm going to show you. It's still like one guy's feel, and it's really difficult to, emulate the feeling that you have, when playing with a bass player and a drummer in a real-time situation where you're feeding off of each other and you're kind of gelling into a groove. You can't just say to somebody, play a swing feel at this particular tempo and expect it to be right. As musicians have to come to this kind of agreement on where the pulse is going to be. The bass player may be a little on top, maybe a little behind, the drummer may be this, the comping, you know what I'm saying? It's really difficult to emulate that via MIDI like I do a lot. So one of the things that I've learned to do to make it better, there's no way to emulate that at all. There's just no way. There's no replacement for a live jazz rhythm section. But what I've done is I'll go to the Drum Genius grooves that I love, like the Bill Stewart one, for instance, or any of the Jack DeJohnette ones. These are just examples. There's tons of them. And what I'll do is there's a command in Ableton Live, and Logic has it too, where you can say capture groove to MIDI or something on that order, where you select a bit of the drum groove and say, capture this, and it becomes a quantized template. So when I'm doing the swing things, I'll do that. I'll just bring in, like I said, some of my favorite ones that are appropriate tempo-wise, and then apply those to the drums and then to the bass. So the bass and drums are locking up based on like Bill Stewart or Roy Haynes or whoever that we have access to in that Drum Genius app. And that's the beauty of the Drum Genius app, is that they're non-quantized parts and that they're very, very real feeling. That's why I love them so much. I think everybody else does too. So like I said, I'll use it as a template and apply it to the bass and drums, and I get, in my opinion, what's a pretty good swing feel versus it being a very, very strict quantized thing. So to me, that's the big secret of the evening. So nobody else is saying anything. So the drums that I do use are something called Easy Drummer. It's by a company called TuneTrack. And like I said, unfortunately, you cannot see the interface, but I'm opening up the interface now. And even if I went to like maybe you are seeing it, because I'm looking at this screen. Well, that would be great if you are. So Easy Drummer, yeah, it looks like you are seeing this, great. So I have all these libraries, basic jazz, funk, et cetera, but I went to the jazz stuff, for instance, and just played some of this. No, it wants swing. Swing 4/4. They're okay. Let me look at some of these other ones. Basic jazz, swing. So for instance there, that one has got the bass drum lightly feathering on quarter notes. So without getting into any kind of real big technical stuff, usually I'll edit those within the software, take out the kick drum pattern, or there's a lot to it. I'm kind of glossing over this. This software alone, takes a lot of time to get it together, to make it sound great. I mean, you can just use these loops, chuck them in a project and go. But like I said, I've been trying to put an extra effort into making these sound really as good as I possibly can. And so those are the biggies. I think the biggest thing, like I said, is learning how to use some of those Drum Genius grooves for templates, for quantizing. So let me see if anybody else has said anything. So Paulo was talking about something called Jazz Drummer. I've heard about that. The second time I've heard about it. So, and these guys are saying we can see it, but what's weird is you can't see the plugins, like the UAD plugins that I use, so I won't bother with that. But I'm glad you guys can see that Drum Genius interface. Everything else, like I said, is Ableton Live. I don't know if you guys can see this. Yeah, you can see that too. So this is the contact player that I use for the bass sound. Like I said, it's just built into the factory library. It's nothing great, but it's like I said, it's good enough. I can't close it for some reason. So that's pretty much it. But the nice thing about Easy Drummer is that when I construct these things, I construct it within the app itself here. You know, so here's the entire arrangement. It just looks like blue blocks, but each block, I can tell it very specifically what I want it to do. Like just randomly, I'll pick this one. And then I get this interface of the kit. This is a jazz drum kit, which is pretty neat. But I can tell it different things, like for instance, how much of the kick drum should play. And as you can see here in this example, I've got it turned all the way down because it's just too obnoxious. But if I go to all the drums, I use this velocity knob a lot. As the arrangement is building, I'll keep on notching the velocity up a little bit, so it gets slightly louder and louder. So it feels like it's, you know, an actual rhythm section getting more aggressive. So if I go further down, this actually is looking opposite of what I would hope it to look like. I mean, it may be because the kick drum is turned all the way down. Yeah, something is wacky, because I know it should be the opposite of this. I think it's because the kick drum, like I said, is turned down. But it's a very, very powerful piece of software, which I really, really love using. So just to get away from all the technology for a second, I'll play through the whole thing. I'll take the loop off. It's only 2 choruses of solo and 2 choruses of melody, or 1 chorus of melody. So here's John Coltrane's Naima with that whole backing track. Let's make sure we're at the beginning, and here we go. Okay, so that's the backing track for Naima. Like I said, I'll add some other things for the final lesson, but that's a pretty good snapshot of it. So, let's see. Okay, cool. So, Tom is asking, got here late, did you cover your guitar setup? And I did not, but I will show that to you. The thing is, I think with this, you can't see the plugins, but let me jump over to that. So, hold on a second, everybody. Still getting used to all this new stuff. All right, so this is what console looks like. So this is the interface that I play through. Going through my UAD plugins, so you can see my voice triggering the vocal track, and then if I play guitar, you see that as well. And I have tracks for the DAW, in this case Ableton Live, and a fader that will control that, and a fader that controls the audio from the Mac. This really, I know it looks like I'm just talking through this, but this took so much trial and error. But by me pressing the mute button, I've realized that it's stopped that boop sound when anybody chimes in with a comment. I love the comments, but the sound was driving me nuts on the last one. So I figured that out, that I can mute the Macintosh audio sound. But these are the two channel strips that are important. And the one I think that you guys would be most interested, of course, is the guitar one. But like I said, unfortunately, you can't see it when I open it up. I mean, I'll double check this. Hold on a second. Sorry about this. Jumping back here. So if I go to my, so if I open this console up, I'm playing through a Neve. Sorry. I'm pretty sure this is not going to show up for you guys. It does! Extraordinary. Okay, great. Fantastic. So I start by going through this Neve plugin here, which is an emulation of the Neve console, and using a little bit of gain to just kind of play into the saturation effect that it offers. There's a tiny bit of EQ here. This is a high shelf right here, which I've taken a little bit off, which would take the top end off a little bit. This is the upper mids here. And here, it looks like I have boosted some of the high end here. And then on the low shelf frequency, this is a tiny bit of actually this is doing nothing. This is set to off. And then I have a high pass filter at 80 Hertz. So for any of you guys who are into audio, it's just really a subtle adjustment. I'll shut it off. I mean, you can hear a lot of gain change. Without really the guitar straight into the interface without this. Oops. It's beautiful. This is beautiful. And then I also use this thing called oxide tape, which gives a little bit of tape saturation. So here's with the sound of it. With it off. It's super, super subtle. But to me, it adds just like a little bit of a velvety kind of a sound to it. But these little subtle things, like the preamp and this tape, it starts adding up. If you were to go overboard with any of these plugins, it would really change your sound. So I'm just using them very, very subtly. And then the last plugin I use is just some compression, the 1176 compressor. Again, for all of you audio nerds out there, know that this is probably the most famous compressor of all. And if I play, you can see that it's not even moving this needle. I really have to hit the guitar for it to kick in. And again, I'm doing that intentionally because I don't want to have a compressed sound at all on the guitar. I want it to be really natural sounding. So those are all the plugins that I would use on the way in, and those get printed right to the track when I play, even though I'll do some processing afterwards before I put the video lessons out, that I'm playing through live, and that does get recorded. So I'm a huge fan of this stuff, and I'm not, whatchamacallit, an endorsee of these guys at all, but I definitely believe in them, and they make great stuff. Okay. So Paolo was asking, I don't use the amp sims. I'm not, and I even have the 55 Fender Twin. It's just that I feel like I get the best tone using this setup. And I've tried a lot of different setups, but you can't deny it's a nice jazz guitar tone. So that's going through all the plugins I just mentioned to you guys. And verb, and there's a little bit of reverb. I'll just show you that as long as I'm in this window, using the emulation of the Lexicon reverb that's probably on everybody's, every professional studio's console. Just a little bit of touch of that too. So it's just great. It's great. It's great to be able to plug into your computer and get a tone like that whenever you want to. So that's pretty much that. You guys were saying like John and Paulo again and another John. You know, the amp simulations are great. I mean, I have a really good friend. Let me take this off for a second. You know, a former student, but a blazingly great guitar player named James Hogan, who, because he plays a lot of fusion, can't live without the current emulations that are out there, not even this UAD stuff, just other stuff. But for me, who just shows up to a gig with a guitar cable and an amp, it really doesn't take much for me to be satisfied, with tone. And I've also learned too, and I know you guys probably know this already, but so much of it comes from the musician's hands. I'll give you two incredible examples, at least in my life, that have blown me away. When Mike Stern had visited UNF, he had come to my office and we were playing tunes together, which is that's a whole story in itself. I've got tons of stories about just that. But he was just playing this guitar, the Bravo, and he was playing his Telly, but he wanted to try my guitar, and it sounded exactly like Mike Stern. It didn't sound like Barry's guitar at all. It sounded like Mike Stern playing another guitar. And then when Pasquale Grasso was here, I think almost every one of my students, he just had them all come up and play his guitar, and everybody sounded totally different. So much of it is in your hands. I'm thoroughly convinced of that. And then Pat Metheny tells a similar story too, and I'll make this really, really quick. But I heard him speak at a clinic at the National Guitar Workshop where I was teaching at the time, and he had said that he was playing a concert in Poland and his guitar never made it to the gig and he had to use somebody else's instrument, and there's more of a funny story to it, but the bottom line was when he heard the playback on it, he thought, it sounds exactly like me. And that's, I think, when he began using Ibanez guitars and didn't really worry about whether or not he had his, I think he was using a 175, I think. You guys correct me if I'm wrong. But so much of it is in your hands, is all I'm trying to say. It was a very long-winded response to that. So Tom's also asking me about the Ableton Live Push, which is the hardware device that goes with the software. Whether I just use it for a metronome. No, that'd be a very expensive metronome, Tom. No, I use it for everything. You know, I use it for programming drums. I use it for mixing. All the plugins that I've shown you guys all show up on the interface of the Push. You know, with encoders on top of them, so I can dial them in with knobs rather than using a mouse. So I use it a lot, a real lot, as a matter of fact. I really, really love it. So, yeah. So it looks like that's the questions. But that's all I really had to say about the stuff that I'm doing. So I hope you guys found that interesting. I'll be happy to play some tunes after, you know, we've gone through all that stuff. But I thought it would be interesting to see, you know, how I go about doing all of the, you know, MIDI tracks that I've been presenting lately on those lessons. One last thing, and just shameless plugging, for those of you guys who haven't checked out my video lessons before, I have here's a quick sample of what the PDFs look like. So this is the last one I just did, the situational comping, and just you can see it's page 1 of 8. Yeah, 1 of 18. If I just scroll through all these different pages of all this transcribed stuff that comes with this lesson, and I'm sure anybody out there who is on the site will testify that this is pretty typical of the work that I do when generating the PDF stuff. All right, so back to my mug. And if you guys want me to play some tunes, I'll be happy to do that. Just to change my Ableton Live setup back to the template that I use for doing that. So user library, templates, live streaming, and let's not save what I had just shown you guys, just in case I mess something up. So I'm just waiting for Ableton Live to load. And let me just change one other thing in that console program I told you about. And I should be good to go. So, like I said, I'd be happy to play a tune if you guys want. I'm looking at John Gross's comment. I watched Chris Stranding, do a live video tonight, and he basically said the same thing. Tone is in your hands. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. There is no doubt about that. And Paolo is asking for Just Friends, and it's one of my favorite tunes, and I think probably one of yours as well. Let me just look at what I'm doing here, getting so confused about all the windows and stuff. Okay, so I'll show you my Ableton Live window for those of you guys who weren't here the other day. So this is my Ableton Live template for doing live videos, where in here you see all the different grooves that I have from Drum Genius that I've just imported in here. And if you don't know how to do that, you can go to my lesson site, and I've put a bunch of free videos up on how to set up Ableton Live to record all the Drum Genius loops. So Just Friends. So the first thing I need to do is just pick a tempo. Just make sure I'm hearing everything. And I am. So, da-da. So usually I would just press this tap button to tap in a tempo, but with the push, that's another thing I do with the push, Tom, as I set tempos. So da-da. That comes out to, as you guys can see, about 225 and a half. So I'll make it 226. And then I just look for a drum groove that's in the ballpark of that. So it looks like the Bill Stewart groove, which I do like a lot. Let me just check it out. And that's all there is to that. So I'm just going to trigger the record button, and I'll play a couple of choruses of comping. And then I'll just start soloing. All right, so I could use a glass of water but I'll suffer through some red wine. Hey, I didn't say, but I hope everybody's feeling safe and healthy and doing their best to survive through this. It's just absolute insanity. All right, just friends. Let's make sure one more thing, that I've got a count off of 2 measures. And that should do it. Make sure I have the right view for you guys. There we go. Okay, that was just friends. Lovers no more. Misty. Okay, that's another nice request. Miguel, as a ballad, I'm assuming, so I'll play. Yeah, it'd be nice to play a ballad. So Daniel, by the way, if you guys haven't checked out Daniel Corso, please do. He's a guitar player from Brazil, plays beautifully, and a really, really great friend. After long hours of teaching online today, actually, hold on one second. Daniel, let me try some of my... So, after long hours of teaching online today, I was just about to drop my guitar and turn my computer off, doing anything but music, and your video showed up. Thank you so much, Daniel. Like I said, everybody, please go check out Daniel. You can find his info on Facebook. He's a tremendous guitar player. Let's see what else is going on here. Tom is asking me, Ableton Tech question, how do you switch so seamlessly between comping and soloing? Tom, that's the beauty of Ableton Live, and that's why I'm using it. You know, I have Logic, I've got Pro Tools, and I know all of them really, really well. But as far as for on-the-fly accompaniments, like I've been demonstrating for you and I've been doing for years, nothing can beat it. You know, yeah, I'm doing it from the hardware, the push hardware, but I could easily be doing it with a mouse. It's just much easier for me to do it with the hardware because I can see lights blinking and I know exactly what button to push. But basically, no. As you can see, I'm just comping for as long as I feel like it. I could have done 20 courses of comping. It's just that I need to make sure, excuse me, that when I'm in the last measure, that I click the button that's flashing red that's in record. And once I push it, it automatically goes to playback at the beginning of the next measure. That's the beauty of it. And there's no other software that does it. At least natively. There's probably third-party stuff that does by now, I'd assume. But natively, I don't know any of the software that does it. So yeah, I could play to my heart's content. 1 course, 20 courses. I just have to make sure to hit that button at the right time, meaning that it has to be within the measure, the very last measure of the chorus, and then it'll just start playing back everything I just played. And that's the beauty of it. So for live stuff, that's why it's aptly named Ableton Live. There's nothing better. And I use it now as my main DAW. You know, I'm not a guy who's in a studio recording, you know, bands with 20, 35 microphones or something like that, where I would definitely be going to Pro Tools. But for the creative side of me that just likes to use it for a practice tool and create these accompaniments like I just have been demonstrating, or doing my backing tracks, I just love it. And again, I don't endorse any of these products, although I wish they would watch and send me free stuff, but that is not the case. All right, so I had hey Stefano, hope you were doing well and staying healthy. So I had a request from Misty, and I do like Misty, and I haven't played a ballad in a while, so I'll flip you guys over so you can see how I set up each new tune. So here's the comping that I just did for Just Friends, which I'm going to delete. And here are all my loops. So with Misty, I'm thinking, so a very slow tempo, so I'll tap that in. Do-dee-da. Do-do-do-dee-da-do-dee-da. So that's at about 65 beats a minute. I'll just round it off so it's a nice even number, 65. And then I look at my list of loops. And here's an Elvin Brushes groove at 64. Couldn't be much closer than that. It sounds like this. And that'd just be perfect. Gotta love Drum Genius loops. They're just so awesome. So I'll use that. So all I need to now to do, I wish I could move my camera and show you. And the only reason I'm not moving my camera is because it's set up perfectly for my video lessons and I don't want to mess with it. But I see a row, I see this all lit up in red on the push controller. And I'm just gonna press the red button that's here, which will start recording. And then when I get to that last measure, I'll hit it again to stop it, and then it'll just continue to play. And that's the beauty of it. Hey, one quick thing about Misty. And I got this lesson from one of my living idols, which is George Benson. I don't want you guys to think that I was just hanging out in his living room couch, because it was not that. But I was at an event at a person's house, and he and I played Misty together, among other tunes, but he schooled me on this one, and I want to pass this along to you guys. So when you get to, sorry. Right? A minor 7, D7. Then he's told me to go here to C minor 7, F7 before going to the F minor. So the bridge again would be that's my own little substitution, which I will show you. So instead of just doing 2, 2, 5, which sounds great, of course, 2 5s have been sounding great for a long time. Instead I do F minor, G flat major 7, B major 7, to E major 7. So it's just a bunch of tritone substitutions. But it's a really nice way of getting at that. So from the middle of the bridge, anyway, I'll play the tune for you guys. So, comping for Errol Garner's Misty. It's a long count off, 2 measures of ballad tempo. Here we go. Switch views for you guys, sorry. Wrong thing. Ah! Sorry. Okay, Misty, Errol Garner. Yeah, kind of a goofy ending, but what you gonna do? Okay, let's see. Reading some comments. Let's see. Adam Bach, thank you so much for that really, really nice comment. Hey, Josh, and Rich, and Tony, and Tom, thanks for the comments. And Miguel, you're quite welcome, man. I don't really play too many ballads. Thank you guys for staying for that whole thing. That's a slow tempo. That's really great practice too, by the way. Become a teacher for a second again. Sometimes I think that there's more of a challenge than playing up-tempo tunes. There's so much space between each beat that your really true essence of a musician comes through, I think, on ballad playing more than anything else. Paulo, do you use upstrokes in the? I don't. I just use the downstrokes and do what I consider just an adequate job. It's the same way I feel about my fingerstyle playing too. It's just adequate. You know, in hindsight, I wish I would have spent time getting classical right hand technique together. But at almost 59 years old, and I just don't have it in me to embark on such a big thing. So I just kind of get by at what I've been able to kind of throw together. I did work through some of those Giuliani studies. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about. I think he calls it 101 daily exercises for guitar. And it's just based on 2 chords, a C chord and a G7 chord. But it's all about the right hand. It's stuff like exercises like that just give you some independence, and that's definitely helped me. But I don't really have proper hand placement, and I've had several guitar players come through UNF who had a strong background in classical guitar, and when I look at their hands, I thought to myself, oh man, I really wish I would have done that when I was younger. Thank you, Giordano. And Tom, someday maybe let's say when Sunday Gets Blue, it's a beautiful song. John, don't thank God for the coronavirus, man. It's really just wreaking havoc on the world. It's just awful. Sunday Gets Blue is great. And I usually do that the same way. You know, it's funny, as that Herbie thing that I did on Naima. Part. Decide what chord to put there. Love that. Sorry. So how can I do this? Maybe something like that, maybe. So I'll jump you guys back to the Ableton Live screen. I won't forget to switch back either. I've been forgetting to switch back so you can see what's going on. All right, so shut off the other loop. Delete the previous comping. Tap in, like Jimmy Smith style. So that's 140.99. Let's make it 141. And it looks like this Mickey Roker groove right here is about right. Let's check this out. That's it. So before I forget, let me switch you guys back to this main view. And we should be all set. So, yeah, something like that. All right, here we go. 2 measures of count off. 2 measures of count off, 1 sip of red wine, and off we go. Ah, it's a tough grab. Okay, Sonny Gets Blue, Jimmy Smith style. All right. Let's see. Okay, bebop tune of my choice. Okay. That's why I go for the head. Do that one. It's a little, hey Larry and Greg, Tom, thank you so much. Let's do a little bit of Donnelly by the great Charlie Parker, who, in my opinion, is the greatest gift to all of us jazz musicians. So let's type in a tempo for Donnelly. You guys know the routine. I won't even switch over to Ableton Live because I keep on spacing out anyway. So, that seems slow. So 246-ish. Let's see what 247 sounds like. Let's get a tempo. I'm in a groove. 247. Let me see how this Kenny Clark one sounds. Yeah, it's a little too fast. It's a little garbled sounding. That sounds better. I'll give that a shot, even though it feels a little bit fast to me, especially after having several glasses of wine tonight. But anyway, might as well just make it that much worse. So everybody, just really quick, thanks for being here. I love doing these. I love the fact that I figured out how to use my audio gear to make the sound really good and the video good. So I'm having a great time. A lot of my hesitancy in the past has been because I look at the videos and they skip and lag and the video looks crappy, but after several years I finally figured it out. So let's try a little Donnelly. Yeah, there's really not much to say other than I hope I can play the melody right. All right, let's give it a shot before I chicken out. All right, Donnelly, Charlie Parker. Okay. Giuseppe Blumdido, man, I just recommended somebody learn that because it's such a great Charlie Parker solo to start with. It's a nice medium tempo, and But I've forgotten it, man. I learned that when I was at Berklee College of Music in 1979. I don't remember the melody even right now. I just remember that it was such a great solo to transcribe because, like I said, it was very playable on guitar. And I remember that was just the beginning of me trying to develop some language, and that solo helped me out a lot. I am sorry. Stamina. Yeah, I definitely felt it for a second there. And then anytime I do, you know, I hopefully you'll find this helpful. I'm not trying to do anything but help you guys about technique. But anytime I start to feel myself, it's all in your head. I'm just telling you, it's all in your head. And as soon as I feel myself tightening up, even the slightest bit, in my mind, I just remind myself, just relax. And I don't know, I wish I could be real specific about which muscles, whatever it is, but then I can get back where everything, the ups and downs feel exactly the same. Another video I've demonstrated before, just practicing tremolo exercises, and getting that really just, and then maybe even thinking about bebop phrasing. And then it's just being able to maintain that through the rest of the guitar. And for me, I explained not yesterday, whenever I did the last video, a live video, was I just move my hand. I know I'm not trying to make it simplistic or be a jerk by any stretch, but I'm just telling you, in my own head, that's what I'm thinking, is that this is constantly going, whatever tempo it is. And then I'm just moving my hand gently over here, and I try to have the least amount of hand movement going on as possible. But that's just me. And I even said on the other live video I did that, you know, you look at other guys that have way more chops than I do, with really unusual hand positions, and when I look at them, I think, how are you even playing the instrument? You know, so everybody's different. I'm just telling you, for me, what's worked. I also had somebody say to me, it seems like I'm playing with a really feather-like touch, based on the visual thing. But I'll shut my guitar off. You can hear the mic that's set up to hear me speak. But now let's get no guitar and volume. I'm playing hard. It's just that it looks relaxed. But that's just, you know, it's basically a solid body guitar. You guys know what this is about. There's a big sound block in here. Here's very quiet. You know, the whole time that feels very, very relaxed. So it's not that I'm playing with a feather touch, it's just that I've, you know, like I said, worked really hard at just concentrating on, you know, my arm and my body, but essentially just when things feel tight, if I can't, you know, talk my way out of it, during practice time, I'll slow the tempo down. Anyway, I talk a lot about this, but that's what's worked for me. Just giving my ears a little bit of air. Let's see. Paolo, thank you so much for saying your time feel is amazing, because that's something that I worked so hard at and I still struggle with. I still feel like I play very, very much on top, and it's been a constant struggle for me my entire life. I think that some of it has to do with just getting so excited when I play, and so I'm using the red wine to counter the effects of an extreme amount of adrenaline that's coursing through my veins at the moment. But yeah, it's something I worked very, very hard at, and still do, and I still do. And the secret to that, by the way, is just playing with a metronome or Drum Genius has been, to me, one of the greatest things to come along. Not so much only because it feels really great, but it's been inspiring and made me want to practice more than I had in the past, you know. So thanks to the developer for that. Thank you, Josette. Yeah, and Greg, years of hard work. Yeah, you know, man, you're out there playing. Like for anybody, you know, it takes a tremendous amount of effort. If anybody thinks I got up and played like this, I worked my ass off. There was another request up there, Mimosa. Let me just go through that for a second. What we've got to think about is that I think the form, before I lay this down, I have to make sure that I play it in a way that I can begin the solo right away. So, through all that. I'll just give it a shot. The worst thing that will happen is that the vamp over that F minor, F major thing will just be a little longer. I'm just trying to think in terms of how I will loop this. So I'm in Ableton Live right now. You guys have already seen the screen a whole bunch of times. So getting a tempo. So that's about 128. This is, by the way, a George Benson tune, one of his original tunes. It's just absolutely beautiful. I only have really one bossa nova, and that's the one. Let me just check it out. So if I'm coming out of solo. Yeah, this might be a little bit weird, but what's the worst that can happen, right? So George Benson's Mimosa. Okay, George Benson's Mimosa. That's hard as hell, by the way. All right, George Benson, one of the most untouchable guitar players out there. All right, well, looks like things have quieted down a little bit. So, unless there's another request, I will say goodbye. Let me see what Paolo's is. Paolo was asking about, hold on a second. Let's make this a little bit. If you can play along with some of your premium backing tracks and adjust the tempo of it on the fly with your MIDI tracks, I possibly could, but like I've said, I think in a past video, after I do all these, I save them to a backup drive, which is not plugged in right now because I have all the audio stuff going through it. I save them, but they take up so much space that I'm forced to save them on a other drive. So I can't pull them up. The only one that I have ready to go was the one I played when I first started, which was Naima. But thanks for asking, and thanks for all your comments tonight, Paolo. I do appreciate it. Okay. All right. I don't know. It's up to you guys. Is there any questions about just jazz guitar or anything? Like you guys, I'm just staying at home. Polka dots and moonbeams. That's definitely a good one. Stefano, you're stuck in Miami. Oh, and all the beaches are closed. And I'm sure what a shame. Because that's a fun town to be in when everything is open. I could do polka dots and moonbeams for sure. Let's think of something in between that tempo-wise, though. Something maybe medium. Okay, I'm just waiting for somebody to say something. Let's see. Yeah, I only know one Matheny tune, and that's James, and I played that last time, but thank you, Paulo. Okay, maybe let's pick one then, and then let's do one more and we'll say goodnight. Some blues, you know, just to close things out with a blues. Or that's a good one, the Herbie tune. Tricky thing is comping with that one too, but let's give it a shot. This is definitely taking some chances here for sure. So let me jump over to Ableton Live, tap in a tempo, delete the old comping. You know what? Instead of that, because the comping it's hard to make that head work. Yes or no? Wayne Shorter? So that's 265. I'm maybe pushing my luck here, but let's just do it anyway. I'm looking at Greg's comment. Let me play this first, and I'll address your question. Okay, this is Wayne Shorter. It's called Yes or No, or Yes and No, I forget. Where's my metronome? And where are my drums? Let's try that again. So I'm at 265. All these have that weird, that's better. All right. Wayne Shorter, let's try that again. Ah, shit. Let me go through that again. Let me do that again. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm tired. That's it for me, you guys. I'm beat. Thanks for joining me. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy. Hopefully we'll get through this soon and be back to things just for some more comments. So I guess that's about it. Thank you guys for being here. Let me get to the screen where I know I can stop the live stream from happening. Take care. See you again soon. And thank you so much for being here. Bye.